Hey, everybody, welcome to episode number 46 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. You know, when it comes to expenses, food is one of the costliest items in the budget, and not just groceries. We're talking also going out to eat. In fact, most people admit that going out to eat and getting takeout, whether it be food or drink, is actually one of the areas that they overspend the most. So today, I've got a special guest on the show to talk about the importance of meal planning, and really not just to save you money, but also to improve your health. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, or Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad, and I would love to connect with you. And welcome to today's show. And, you know, seriously, I appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us here as we talk about this important topic. And, you know, I say a lot, money and personal finance has a ripple effect. Money and personal finance is going to affect a lot of different areas in your life, and other areas of your life are also going to affect your finances. So we're going to kind of go a little off page today and not talk specifically about money, but also talk about a big area that affects your money, which is meal planning. So today, as I said, saving money and eating healthier, meal planning is going to be a big part of that. And today I brought on a special guest, Jess Kuemmerlin. He's joining us, and Jess is an optimal family health guide, and he helps families with eating healthy, nutritious meals every day of the week. Check this out, guys, within a hectic schedule. And I know a lot of us live that kind of life. He is a father of two amazing kids and a husband to an incredible wife, and his family loves to travel and are currently living in Lisbon, Portugal, which is super cool, and I'm glad we could get connected like this, and they're going to be living there for the next couple of years. So, Jess, hey, man, welcome to the show, and, thanks for taking some time to hang out with me and our audience and to share some of your knowledge, man.
No, Brad, thank you so much for, inviting me to be on your podcast. Super excited to jam about health and food and all these things because I love to geek out on that stuff. So again, thanks for having me and super excited for what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, awesome. We just recently became Facebook friends. Jess and I actually got connected through a coaching program that we're both involved in. And I recently became friends with him on Facebook, and he's sharing some really good stuff. So I'm excited for him to be on here today. And I think he's going to serve a lot of you pretty well. So Jess, let's start out with this. I think, when it comes to the financial world and the financial industry and the food world and the food industry, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And, I think in the past, probably 10 years or so, a lot of that misinformation, especially in the food industry, has come to light. You look at some of these documentaries and more information is just being put out there about what actually are you buying and what are you putting into your body. But you guys teach and talk about this method called like the 4 jars framework. Can you explain what that is and what makes a good balanced diet? Because I think there's probably some people out there that are confused about what should I eat, what shouldn't I eat, and that's really kind of the basis of how we need to start meal planning based on, how you want to physically be. Do you want to get healthier? What are some things I need to think about?
Yeah, so 2 great questions there, and we'll answer that. But before we get into that, I think one thing to understand, and I think we all understand it as adults, and we've heard this before, but food is a medicine to our body, and we learned that as kids. Like, we eat food because it heals our body. We eat food because it helps facilitate energy. We eat food because literally it is the foundation to our health. And somewhere along the line, as we get adults and we get jobs and all these things, like we forget this. And then, we're marketed in a way where it's like a pill or a shake, or this new way of eating where you restrict like food categories is the next best thing that's going to get you to the fast track of health. But the key is no shortcuts. Is food is the medicine to your body, and that's the first place we need to start. Okay.
I love that.
Now, 4 jars framework is what we call at our company, Nutritional Fitness. It is the one framework that an individual needs to understand how to have optimal core health. And by optimal core health, I mean weight down, energy up, vitality increased. And the 4 jars framework goes to, it's based in science, and my partner, Belden Combe, he's a cellular biologist, and he studied the body for over now 15 years. And he learned that the body, you, me, everyone on this planet, our kids, they need 90 plus nutrients on a daily basis.
Wow.
90 plus nutrients. And that's crazy to think about. Like, wow, 90 nutrients? Like, I wonder how much I'm getting per day,
Yeah,
right?
right.
How much are my kids getting?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. But what the 4 jars framework does is it makes it easy. So you're not tracking 90 things in a day, which would be overwhelming. But actually, if you can identify and organize food into 4 jars, that's why we call it the 4 jars, and get food from those 4 jars, then this ensures that both you and your family get those 90 plus nutrients a day. So everyone can both survive and thrive on a daily basis.
Yeah. I like that you put it in 4 jars, because I think 90, it's like I can just imagine myself going to the grocery store and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get all 90 of these? And then you got all of this stuff out there. So you guys just keep it real simple and say you're pulling from these areas.
Yeah, I think the whole point is we're unconventional in the sense is that we loathe complexity. You know, if there are more than, 6 steps and you have to track this to to the gram or milliliter, like those are things that, are just going to set people up for failure.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have a clear and easy way to look at food and say, okay, I know everyone in my family's body needs 90 plus nutrients. And if I'm just able to identify food into these 4 jars and pull from these 4 jars, then that's all I have to focus on. Right.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Can you share a little bit, obviously if you're getting these 90 plus nutrients that your body needs, can you share a little bit about your opinion and your thoughts on fatigue? Because, I know, there's a lot of people that I work with when it comes to their personal finances. And what I'm hearing is, I know I really need to work on this stuff, but by the time I get home from work and by the time I get everything taken care of and by the time I get the other responsibilities done, I'm just wiped out. I'm tired. I don't have time or energy to put any time into my finances. How much does your diet contribute to the energy and maybe the fatigue that you're experiencing? And if you change that, could you actually maybe spend some more times on the things that you want to do and need to do?
Yeah, I'm going to say 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Energy, and we'll get a little sciencey, but we won't get too complex, I promise, guys. So the energy currency in your body is called ATP, and it's called adrenaline triphosphate. And energy in the body is something we don't consume outside and then it's produced in our body. It is actually already exists in all of our cells as ATP, the energy currency. And when we do need energy, ATP literally explodes and produces that energy that supplies us what we need when we need to do something. But when ATP explodes, it becomes ADP, adrenaline diphosphate. And ADP needs to be recharged so they can turn back into ATP, and ATP then can explode to give you that consistent energy. But one thing that's marketed today is like, well, if you drink this, if you eat this, this will give you energy. And it's unfortunate, but anything that we eat is not going to give us energy. But what we eat, and more specifically, the balance of how we eat food, produces an environment in our cells that allows that recharge to happen more readily. Okay. And if you're getting consistently the things that your body needs, then the environment in your cells becomes an environment where, well, once ATP fires and becomes ADP, well, then it recharges to ATP. So then now you have this consistent stream of energy throughout the whole day where you don't have the, fight in the morning to get out of bed, or you don't have that 10 o'clock slump, or some people say it's the afternoon slump, or the pure exhaustion when you get home. You're like, I'm just spent. I have no mental or physical energy for the most important people in my life. Right?
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's talk a little bit. Let's kind of turn more to the practice of meal planning. And I polled my Roots community group. I've got almost about a little over 400 people in that group right now. And I asked them, I said, what do you guys struggle with the most when it comes to meal planning and planning more meals at home? And the top 2 answers, the first one actually kind of shocked me. The first one was they don't know what to make. Which I thought was a little shocking considering all of the websites and the information that's out there for recipes and things, right? But I'm sure it kind of goes along with the lines of what is the right things to make to, make sure I'm healthy and even if you're a picky eater, things like that. And the second one didn't surprise me all that much was time, right?
Mhm.
So let's kind of dissect those two big ones. But when it comes to meal planning, what are some of the best practices when you're getting started with this?
I think in terms of meal planning I think people are going to say, well, that's very, very simplistic, Jess, but some of the most powerful things on the planet are simple things, right? But the most important thing about meal planning is making a plan in advance.
Yeah, right.
Right? How often have we tried to meal plan on a Tuesday night when kids are coming through the door, when something is wrong in the house, or all the things that can happen in the middle of the week that we just never expect, right? And trying to create a meal plan where it's one, healthy, but two, tastes good in the midst of trying to juggle all these other things. That's just a recipe for success. No pun intended.
Yeah, right.
Right? But it's that idea of, okay, if meal planning is something you want to do, being intentional and saying, I'm going to make a plan in advance. So say devoting, 5 to 20 minutes on the weekend, whether that's a Saturday or Sunday, and say, great, like, what does this week look like? Okay. What do we want to cook? Right? And when are the days are we going to shop for it? When are the days we're going to cook it? And most especially is, sometimes we forget this, is when are we going to take days off? Which is so important, because then it's not that overwhelmed, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to shop this day. We're going to actually cook the food on these days. And then on these other days, we're actually just going to take off where we're leveraging leftovers, we're ordering in, we're going out. But just by creating that simple plan before the week starts, there's this clarity in like, okay, yeah, that day I'm going to go shopping. That day we're going to cook. That day we're actually going to take off. Well, how exciting is that to be like, wow, yeah, Wednesday we're going to take off and we're going to order in from our favorite restaurant, or we're going to go out and explore and find something new.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I say it all the time, but like meal planning, eating healthy, eating more at home, like it relates so well to personal finance because it's the same thing like with budgeting your money. It's like you just have to take time out and just be intentional and just have a plan for it. And that's where most people fail right there, is they just don't take that initial time. So let's talk about time, because I think that's one of the biggest excuses that people use on why they don't meal plan, why they don't budget, why they don't work on some of this stuff that ultimately is going to help them improve their life. But what would you say? I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and what would you say on average, how much time realistically, and I know probably you need a little bit more time up front as you kind of get started, but as you kind of get good at it, like realistically, how much time are you spending actually meal planning every week for your family?
Caveat here is I have been doing this a long time, but I think meal planning itself, just, planning when I'm going to shop, planning what we're going to cook that week, and just that planning aspect takes me probably 15 minutes tops a week. So,
and then compared to like when you first started, you think?
Well, to be honest with you, when I first started, I didn't have all the tools and frameworks that I experiment and now we've built.
Right.
But, it did take a little more time in the beginning, like an hour, maybe a little over, because I was researching like what to buy and what recipes and all these things, which now I think it's much easier once you understand, okay, the 4 jars. And then once you understand your preferences, I think this is a big thing that people oftentimes forget is, well, what do you enjoy eating as a family? Because if you're going to the store and buying things that are on sale and trying to create meals off that, I think that's another recipe for disaster, because if it doesn't turn out well, it's like, well, look what happens when we try to cook something healthy, like it turns out bad. When really starting with your preferences as a family, right? Like, oh, we really enjoy chicken. We really enjoy chicken wings, or we enjoy burgers. And then reversing from that point and say, well, okay, if we like burgers, like we like hamburger, what recipes can we make from hamburger, right? And then great, from that creates our grocery list. And that path becomes much more enjoyable one, but it becomes easier because like, this is what we like. What are the recipes, right? And then that leads to the grocery list that And this speeds up that process of planning and time. So
yeah, totally agree. I think that's the key. My wife and I right now on our family, we're on like over a 6-month span of not eating out. Like we're on like this no spend challenge on eating out right now. And I think that's the thing that's helped us, is not to get off track, is that we've made food, and I can't guarantee it's in part of these 4 jars. So I'm just going to tell you that. but we've picked, I mean, 90% of the stuff we're making is healthy, right? But there's the 10% that's the bad stuff. But we pick stuff that we like, right? And I think that's the thing. Like, we're not trying things like, that doesn't sound good. Why am I even going to cook that, right? And that makes it more fun to make, because it's like, hey, this is going to be really good. And you kind of mentioned some tools and resources, and you're actually going to have a resource coming up at the end of the show. So guys, stay tuned, because Jess is going to give you some stuff that's going to help you kind of put some of this stuff together here. So stay tuned for that. But what about when it comes to, like, we're all about personal finance here, helping people with their money. What if, I make an average income, I want to eat healthier, like, how can I shop to match my budget? Like, what do you recommend in that situation? Because I'm sure you work with people who have, tighter budgets and maybe not have a ton of financial resources to work with. So what would they do?
I think one thing is clarity on what to buy. I think that's the biggest challenge. And if you don't have clarity on what to buy that is going to have an impact on your family's health, but also does taste good, then it goes into this idea, well, what should I buy? Well, I've heard organic is good, so we should buy that. I hear superfoods are good, so we should buy that. I hear like plant-based foods, like we need to go buy that. There's like just list of tag word upon tag word of food marketing terms where we're just bombarded daily. It's like, oh yeah, like I should get those because I heard they're healthy and they're good. But if you know what to buy in terms of just simple food, right? And this is the food that's biologically created to work well with our bodies, right? Then it really reduces that extra money spent on things that actually don't move the needle in terms of your health, but also in terms of taste, right? Because although you might think, well, oh, these taste really good, if you were to turn around those food items and look at the ingredients label, I would probably guarantee you that you might not know half of those things that are on the back of those labels.
Yeah. That's the whole label thing. And and that leads us kind of into our next question, because we've grown accustomed to having these labels and having processed foods. You can't even pronounce some of the stuff that's even in the food. But what's happened is that the food industry has been able to make those foods cheaper and less expensive, making real food seem expensive, right? But what we're missing out on is that the health part of it, right? Keeping you healthy, whereas the processed foods aren't really going to keep you healthy and give you the energy that you want. So you mentioned kind of organic. Do you have to buy like all organic, or which foods are best to buy organic, or like what do you recommend when it kind of comes to actual real food? Because I think, and we kind of had this conversation before this podcast started a couple days ago, and we even said, I think there's misinformation about what actually organic is, and it doesn't even matter. Like, are they just saying that to get you to buy it?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are today like organic standards. Of course, they're going to be higher, and there are certain attributes to organic food that are good. But it goes back to clarity. What I was just saying is like being clear on what you need definitely helps in terms of reducing the budget, because then you know what to say no to, right? But then off of that is if you know what to eat, but then you also understand like what is available to your family, this becomes like a really 1-2 powerful punch, because now you're like, okay, we know what to buy, and this is how much we have allotted to that. So now, oh, great, we can buy some organic in this jar per se. Great. But if not, that's not an issue, because I think one big thing to understand is balance is so much more better than any one food ingredient. Yeah. Although we're marketed very differently to that, right?
Right.
And so the key is, okay, if we know what we need to buy and we know balance is super important, and this is what's available to us as a family, then you can still buy the balance of just real simple food. And it doesn't have to be all organic, because the most important thing for you and everyone in your family is getting the proper balance, as we say, versus, okay, we're going to try to buy all organic and all these different types of food, but maybe it's already in the wrong balance anyway. So we're buying all this expensive food that actually doesn't move the needle in terms of our health, right?
Right. Right. So it's kind of getting everything kind of just to gel together. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what about, and this is where I get confused.
Yeah.
I've never really gotten into, well, maybe more natural and whole wheat for sure, but like superfoods or even like supplements, things like that. Can you share a little bit about that? If you want to get healthier, obviously there's people out there, you know, we're going to be, this is airing the early part of November, and about, month and a half, everyone's going to have that New Year's resolution of I'm going to get healthy, right? And I think some people fall into this that they have to buy some of these supplements or these things. Is that the case, or what's kind of the story around those?
I would just say, think about logic. Just take a step back and say, logically, our bodies are natural organisms. They are, right? We're not made out of synthetic parts or pieces. We are natural organisms. And if you ask yourself the question, what does a natural organism work best with in terms of inputs? What's going to be natural?
Yeah.
Natural like inputs.
Right.
Food that's grown in the ground, or food that's grown on a tree, and food that's, eats the grass on the meadows. Like, those are the best inputs that you're going to have for your body in terms of creating the health results that you want. But the key is today, it goes back to that, not one individual ingredient is what's important, but the balance is, getting real food is key, but also getting it in the proper balance, because, pineapples are great. They're healthy for you. But if you ate strictly pineapples, you would die. You would literally die. So it is that idea of, we work best with natural inputs, but it's that proper balance that's going to give everyone in your family all the things they need so that they can survive and thrive.
I got a question for you as I was thinking about this. When you talk about these 90 nutrients that we need, can you give me just an idea, a scope of what types of foods are included in all that? You talk about, we're talking about real food. Like, in your house, like, what kinds of things are you guys buying and bringing in?
Yeah, we're buying fresh meat. We're buying fresh seasonal fruit. We're buying, leafy green vegetables. And just everything that, if you were to think about, like, where is food grown? Well, it's grown on the ground. It's grown on farms. And it's just looking back, like, can this be, I guess one simple rule is, can this be void of any factory before it gets to me?
Right.
And if that's the case, then you're good.
You're good.
Because if it has to go to a factory and has to go through some processes before it lands on your plate, then probably not going to be the best for you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What about, because you mentioned, taking a break, and last question, I know I didn't give you this one, but I'm going to ask you anyways. When it comes to, like, for instance, you said going out to your favorite restaurant. Like, if you are doing this, like, are people able to still go out to restaurants? What would you recommend if they're pulling from these 4 jars? Like what's reasonable?
Yeah, no, I think, people might come to my Facebook page afterwards, and you probably looked at some of my Facebook page, but we love going out as a family. We love to go out as a family because I think as we travel, we love to experience food and culture. And it's really looking at, you're able to go out now because you have the lens. And it's just like glasses. Maybe you have the wrong prescription and everything's fuzzy and you can't see things. But then all of a sudden you get the right prescription, the right balance, and then you see things clearly. And that's the same thing with food, because today in the world, there are such amazing things happening with food, and people are cooking it in a way that can serve our bodies. But you just need that proper lens so that you can see food properly. So it doesn't matter if you're going out, say, to a fine restaurant or even just a restaurant in a mall. As long as you have this lens to see the food in the 4 jars, say, oh, okay, I could do this and this combined together. And this can combine to give my body everything it needs.
Yeah, I love that. And what I love about what you guys are doing, and I think, again, it's so parallel to the financial industry. I think, here in the United States, financial education is it's just not taught very often. And I think that's why a lot of people are struggling. That's why there's a lot of misinformation. That's why a lot of people are not doing well. Because they're doing what people who are making money are saying they should do, right? And I think the food industry is the same thing. I think what you guys are doing is awesome because you're teaching people how to eat right, how to live a healthier life, and be able to also do it on a budget. And you don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money to be able to eat healthy and live the life that you want. So that's awesome. Great stuff, Jess. So where can people find more information about you, and how can they get more help with what you're helping with other people?
Yeah. So first is, I think what you said at the end was powerful about how debt and how food are so parallel. And one of our amazing people that we've helped, they told us this quote that's always rang and resonated with me is, we've never been taught how to eat. We've just been told not to eat.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's so good.
And if you think about it, it is so true. Like, we've never been taught, like, well, this is what you eat and this is how you eat it. It's just, don't eat it, eat less of it.
Yeah. Eat less of this, eat more of that, right? Right.
Yeah. So I love that. And yeah, there are so many parallels. So, but if you want to find out more, my name is Jess Kuemmerlin, and I think you'll see my name within the podcast area. And you could just search me on Facebook and you'll see more information once you get to my personal page. But then also, I'm going to give a link to Brad that's going to take you to our workshop that just explains what we're talking about on the basic level, you know, what to eat, what not to eat, the 4 jars framework, the balance. And of course, the most important part that, you know, your questions today were around meal planning. What's a system that we could use that's easy and we can implement within a hectic schedule? And I'll provide that link so that people get more information there.
Awesome. Jess, hey, man, thanks for hanging out with us here today and dropping that knowledge on us. I appreciate it, man.
No, of course, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Hey, what's this I see? I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
All right. That sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. And today we're kicking it off with Lynn Vonderho. She is grateful for the emergency fund getting new tires on our wheelchair accessible van and found out the ball joints are bad as well. The emergency fund is allowing us to replace all 4 without stressing, which is awesome. And that's what that emergency fund is all about. Great job.
Sam Lamb, one of our credit cards that was originally $7,630 at the beginning of this year, was paid off this month.
That is awesome. $7,630 at the beginning of the year, and it's gone. That's incredible. That's great. Great job.
Mary Southard sold a couple items on eBay. That's $18.98 towards debt.
Yep, absolutely. I love that too, because a lot of us, you know, you got a lot of stuff just hanging around in your house, and what more do you have better to do right now with this virus going on than just selling a bunch of stuff? Mary's been doing that week in and week out. That's awesome. Shelly Caldwell got 2 unexpected new clients for her dog training, which meant an extra $120 towards bills. That's awesome. Great job.
Jessica Rose added $400 to savings from my paycheck yesterday, she says.
Awesome. Way to go, Jessica.
And Cindy McBurney, my win. I survived Amazon Prime Days without ordering anything.
That's incredible. Hey, did you guys survive Amazon Prime Day?
I didn't find anything good, so.
I did.
Yes.
I bought one thing. I bought a dog crate. That was the only thing that I bought, and it was on sale. And I did have it in the budget, and I just was like, you know what? I'm going to check Amazon Prime and see. And it just happened to be Amazon Prime Day. And I saved like 15% on it. So it worked out pretty good. But great job, everybody. And if you are out there working hard on getting out of debt, congratulations to you as well. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your feedback, and it also helps us grow our YouTube show. So please give us a like or leave us some honest feedback here. We would love to connect with you. And if you want the latest from the show, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And oh, by the way, if you heard that commercial about our Life Without Payments free course, you can head over and find that at therealdebtfreedad.com. Just click on tools and courses, and you'll have access to all of our free tools right there. We'll see you guys on an upcoming show.